Welcome to Lyme Time. I'm Allie from the Tick Chicks. We are all more than Lyme disease and chronic illness, and together we stand with you to overcome and rise. I'll bring you closer to the experts in cutting-edge treatments and even a few unexpected ways of healing. I'll ask the questions you want answers to regarding Lyme disease and successful ways of getting you closer to 100%. We are in this together and will not be defined by Lyme. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lyme Time podcast. And here we are. We're already at phase 3 of the Restore 180 Herbal Protocol with our special guest, Dr. Rawls. And this episode is for months 5 and 6 of the 6-month treatment. Again, this is a product put out by Vital Plan, and it has 3 phases. Each one is about 2 months long, and each one is just slightly different than the next phase to take you through a natural progression of proper healing. So if you're looking to commit to an herbal protocol for Lyme and chronic symptoms, this episode is just for you. Even if you're just curious about how herbs heal the body, join into this conversation, learn more about what phase 3 would look like for you, and be able to, learn for yourself if this Restore 180 product is for you. I'm very honored to have Dr. Rawls back here to walk us through part 3 of 3 of this series about the protocol. But first, let me just tell you a little bit more about the Restore 180 new product. Restore 180 is a collaboration between Dr. Rawls and Vital Plan, designed to turn your health around in 180 days. The program was inspired by Dr. Rawls' work over the last decade with more than 12,000 people navigating chronic illness. It's a 6-month comprehensive system with 3 key restorative phases: calm, detoxify, and what we'll be discussing today, rebuild. Restore 180 is built around a proven, science-backed system of herbal extracts and essential nutrients that restore balance and resilience. It allows your body to rebuild strength to target the microbes that are holding you hostage. Every phase of the program is designed to address the root cause of illness and promote healing at the cellular level. There's so much more than supplemental protocol involved here. It includes a 3-phase health program with education and resources and videos and private coaching, as well as a community and network with peer-to-peer motivation and support. So here we are, phase 3, and we've finished the first 2 phases of Restore 80 by now, which was to calm and detox. And now we can move into the 3rd and final phase, which is called rebuild. So welcome back, Dr. Rawls.
Thank you, Allie. It's a pleasure to be here, always.
Well, I'm excited for the people out there who have gone through phases 1 and phase 2, because that was all about laying the groundwork for the rebuild phase. And a lot of people out there may be really ready to just jump into rebuild now that their systems calm down. They've started the pathways of detoxification. And before we jump into the rebuild phase, let's talk a little bit about the products themselves. Because in phase 1, you're going to be getting, I'll just hold up several bottles here of phase 1. You've got the Biome Boost, the Daily Multi, the Mitochondrial Support, and the HPA Balance. And in phase 2, you introduced to us a couple more products. Let's talk about how phase 2, those products, then transition into phase 3 products.
Yeah. There is some reason behind all of this, and it's building that foundation, rebuilding the body gradually, overcoming different obstacles that get in the way. So that first obstacle is the body is in total distress. The body is, the brain is in fight or flight mode. And that gets in the way of everything. So calming that down in that first phase is really important. Herbal support with HPA balance is designed to neutralize some of those stress hormones and calm that sympathetic overactivity. So the system calms down, makes it more receptive to change. And that has to be done before the body can start detoxing, before gut function can start getting back to normal because it's blocking all of those things. So that's phase one. Getting into phase two, we move into starting to pull toxins out of the body. And again, detoxification is about allowing your cells to breathe. Your body is made of cells. And if you're toxic, if you're congested, it's because your cells, the space around the cells, is congested with debris from dead cells and dead microbes, and they can't purge, they can't breathe, they can't get nutrients, they can't get rid of stuff. So, moving that stuff out of the way, getting things going, getting the body just flowing again, and that includes flowing in the GI tract and protecting the gut with, chlorella gut balance, which is designed to help restore gut function, liver function, protect the liver. All of those things are just really important for this final stage, which is rebuilding your body. And you've got a point where your GI tract is working again, your brain is calmed down, things are flowing again. So this is the point we want to optimize. And what we're talking about here is restoring cellular health. The body is made of cells. We're 100% cells held together by a loose network of connective tissue, collagen, basically. So our health is directly related to the health of our cells. So our cells have been in a war with the microbes the whole time. And we've been working on that with Bone Boost and other herbs and supporting our immune system. We're starting to make some inroads on that battle. Now it's time to double down. So we're bringing in the big gun herbs, Japanese knotweed, Chinese skullcap, andrographis, cat's claw, stronger, really potent extracts. And at this point, the body should be very well ready for those things, these really strong extracts, to start doubling down on really containing that microbe problem and just bringing in the cellular protection that our cells need. So then, yeah, we can start really working on optimizing cellular health to get us to the point of real wellness.
And so we're bringing in the big guns, as you say. And I'm just curious, you still continue, so the protocol still continues certain things throughout this
Right.
entire 180 days. And tell us a little bit about the protocol that remains the same through the whole treatment.
Yeah, we want to continue that cellular support all the way through. Again, this is about restoring cellular health. Your health is a reflection of your cellular health. So Daily Multi Plus supports nutrient support for cells, nutrients and minerals, methylation support for detoxification. So that starts in the beginning because it's a well-tolerated formula. When your cells are stressed, they work a lot harder. When they work a lot harder, they use a lot more nutrients and resources. So we need that extra support. Getting it from a diet is a great place, but a lot in those early days, you're not getting that full dietary support. It's hard to get good food in. So, well, we are reaching a point that we can do that. Let's really double down on providing cells those nutrients that they need. The other is the mitochondrial support, which by supporting cellular health, it protects our mitochondria. So when cells are stressed, they use more energy. They work harder, they use more energy. And you can think about your mitochondria like a battery. So we tax that mitochondrial battery. We burn that down to the red line when we're stressed. So mitochondrial support has glutathione, NAC, other things that protect cellular health, and that helps reduce the workload of the cell so they're not taxing that mitochondria so bad, and the mitochondria can start to rebuild and regenerate recharge that battery. So that's the limiting factor in in chronic illness is loss of energy at the cellular level. So your cells can do amazing things. Your cells can completely rebuild and regenerate if they have energy. But what happens in chronic illness when they're fighting that battle with the microbes and everything else going on is they run down their energy. You know, it's no wonder we all feel cold because our central core energy is so low, our cellular energy is so low. So giving cells not only, doing, we have to suppress the microbes, but at the same time, if we're supporting cells, that helps rebuild that cellular energy, recharge the mitochondrial battery so our cells can recover. And that is the essence of what phase three is all about. So we continue daily multi plus mitochondrial support and people who want to continue HbA balance, that's fine, but a lot of people are going to feel like, I'm okay now. I don't really need that anymore, or the gut support. Um, but we're bringing on the advanced biotic, which has the core of those really strong antimicrobial herbs and adaptogen recovery, which is really good at immune modulation or balancing immune system functions. And we've been getting a lot of that because HPA balance, it's an immune modulator. Gut balance has some immune modulating properties. Some of the herbs in daily multi have immune modulating properties, but we're bringing on stronger herbs, higher concentrations with reishi and cordyceps to really balance that so our immune system can focus on cleaning up the microbe mess, cleaning up the debris and congestion, and getting our cellular health back to normal.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between an antibiotic affecting cellular health versus an herb affecting cellular health? And actually, how does an herb get into the cells and start working? I don't really understand.
Okay. Well, that's always a good topic. Um, that question of antibiotics, I mean, I think everybody struggles with that. You know, it's finally I got the positive test for a microbe, for bacteria. I've got a test that says I'm carrying Borrelia. I need something that's going to kill that. And therefore, we know antibiotics kill bacteria, and that's what we should use. And when you look at the world out there, conventional doctors are going, no, no, no. And you shouldn't be using antibiotics long term like that. Um, and there's no evidence support it. Well, there's not. And then in the Lyme community, they're saying, oh, we need to pound you with 3 different antibiotics for 6 months, or you're not going to get well. Some people will get well, but a lot of people end up as total disasters. It doesn't get them well, and then they're on to something else that they're chasing. So, when you look at solving a problem, it's really important to understand the problem so you pick the right tool to solve that problem. And that's where we are. So, when you look at an antibiotic, by the way, all antibiotics do come from natural sources, either a plant, a bacteria, or a fungus, because all living organisms have to have defense systems. You know, I used to think that there were smart scientists in a lab somewhere that just were experimenting with chemicals and dreamed up these things called antibiotics to kill bacteria. We're just not that smart. We get it from nature.
Mhm.
The first antibiotic or the first significant antibiotic was penicillin. It came from a fungus. But it wasn't the fungus's whole defense system. It was one chemical that we plucked out of that. So all antibiotics were originally come from a natural source. Ivermectin that you heard about so much in COVID, it comes from a bacteria that they found in a bog in a golf course in Japan. Interesting trivia.
No way. I had
So
no idea.
it wasn't the bacteria's whole defense system, it was one chemical. And we do that for two reasons. One, we're not smart enough to reproduce the organism's entire defense system. And two, we need to take that chemical and change it chemically so we can get a patent on it because you can't get a patent on things that are natural. So that's where all antibiotics came from. But the problem is, the last antibiotic was made when I graduated from medical school in 1985. We haven't made any new antibiotics because it's very expensive to bring a new drug to market. So pharmaceutical companies aren't doing it anymore. So we've got the same ones. So the ones we have are precious because antibiotic resistance develops so rapidly to them. So when you use an antibiotic, antibiotics work really well for fast-growing bacteria. So if you develop an acute pneumococcal pneumonia in your lungs, you have aggressive bacteria, pneumococcal bacteria that are invading your lungs, invading your tissues. Those bacteria are turning over. Their doubling rate is every 20 minutes. That means somebody can get really sick really fast. Antibiotics need that fast turnover to work. So antibiotics work very, very well for that. And typically somebody is better in 2 or 3 days. When you look at chronic Lyme disease, when you look at Lyme disease in general, whether you're talking about Bartonella, Babesia, Anaplasma, Rickettsia, Borrelia, any of them, they're all slow growing. So that pneumococcal bacteria turns over every 20 minutes. Borrelia, the Lyme bacteria, in its acute phase, when it first enters the bloodstream, is turning over every 12 to 24 hours. It's really slow. So it's hard to expect any antibiotic to completely eradicate that bacteria. So slow growth is one of its defense mechanisms. But the other is it goes through your system, it invades your cells, and it can go dormant. So if someone is chronically ill, that's not an infection anymore. An infection is when the bacteria first enters your body. What chronic illness is that thing has become an ill-fitting resident. It's become dormant inside your tissues, inside your cells. It may have been there for years and years. Other factors come together. Sometimes a new infection like COVID. Sometimes, for me, it was years of not getting sleep, mental stress, exposure to mold. All of these factors come together in our lives, and these things reactivate and start breaking down our tissues. But they're not growing fast. And still, a lot of them are inside of our cells. So you do have to treat for months and even years to get rid of these things to suppress them. That's why this Restore 180 program is 6 months, just getting started with that. But you have to do something that doesn't cause issues. So antibiotics have a bunch of issues, but there are three really big ones. So the first is that when you take an antibiotic in as little as 10 days, it disrupts your gut flora. And that starts selecting out pathogens that can wreak havoc in your system. Second thing, in as little as 10 days, antibiotics start generating antibiotic resistant pathogens in your system. Well, like I said, we haven't developed new antibiotics in 40 years, and there's a lot of resistance out there. So we look at chronic Lyme disease, there are a lot of people being affected, but millions of people aren't dying. Millions of people are dying of antibiotic resistant pathogens every year, and it gets to be more every year since the 90s. More than a million people have died every single year from exposure to antibiotic resistant pathogens. So every time somebody uses long-term antibiotics, they contribute to that problem. And they develop antibiotic resistant pathogens in their body that are hard to get rid of. So even if you kill the Lyme bacteria, you've got a whole new problem to deal with. And that tends to follow people. So with herbs, you don't have that. So herbs don't disrupt normal flora in the gut. They're selective for pathogens. You've got the plant's whole system, not one single chemical. That concept of antibiotic resistance doesn't occur with herbs. And the last thing is antibiotics disrupt our cells. They are toxic to our cells, but they're especially toxic to mitochondria. So mitochondria came from ancient bacteria. They were high energy bacteria that our cells basically started just improvised and pulled those high energy bacteria in to produce energy for the cell. And eventually that became the sole source of energy. Really interestingly, they've found that it was a species of rickettsia, an ancient ancestor of the bacteria that causes Rocky Mountain spotted fever in every one of our cells, which just shows this long-term relationship that we have. Well, you actually damage your mitochondria with antibiotics. You don't do that with with herbs because herbs also contain cellular protectants, things that actually protect mitochondria, protect the cell from free radicals, toxic substances, and everything else. So when you're taking herbs, you're not only protecting cells, balancing your gut flora, you're suppressing these pathogens as they're being released from your cells. So you can keep doing it long term. So I took herbs in intense doses for 5 years and just kept getting better. It was pretty remarkable.
So, going back to the cells that have been damaged so much, are they able to be rejuvenated, or are you working on the cells that are fresh and not damaged yet? I mean, is there a reversal, or are you just focusing on what you have left?
You know, I'm just continually amazed by my own journey and watching other people that I've come in contact with so many people of how many people have just keep getting stuff back, things that I never expected. So there is a point, and that you can have cellular damage that is not recoverable, right? So our body is made of cells. How this thing works is we accumulate cells through about age 20. And at age 20, we have 5 to 10 times more cells than we need to survive. That's why 20-year-olds feel pretty invincible because they really have multiple lives built in.
Lucky ducks.
After that point, though, you have a gradual loss of cells and your cells lose energy. So we gradually burn out our mitochondria in our cells. And that process, that's a short, easy way of saying it. It's a complex process, but we gradually burn out our mitochondria. And as we do, we lose cells. So that's why someone at age 40 you just don't see many professional athletes still in the game at age 40 or beyond. And it's because they've lost half of their cellular reserves by that point, and all of their cells don't have the same energy capacity. So by age 80, you have that even more. So there is an age factor. But your body still, through stem cells and other mechanisms, is able to regenerate a lot of cells. Certain cells regenerate much faster than others. We generate new skin cells and intestinal cells continually our whole lifetime. Our heart cells and our muscle cells and our brain cells are really, really slow to regenerate. That's why neurological symptoms and cardiac symptoms are just so hard to heal that take a lot of time. The reason is we never stop using our brain and we never start using our heart. So those cells have to rest kind of when they get a breath every now and then. But because we're constantly using them, it's hard for them. It takes them a lot of time to recover. But and then certain things like we talk about microbes being inside of our cells and then releasing from our cells. Well, our body sometimes attacks the cells that the microbes are coming from, which is what autoimmunity is. This occurs in Lyme disease and virtually every illness. If enough cells are damaged in that way, then we lose some capacity. An example would be thyroid disease, Hashimoto's. So if thyroid cells are stressed, then they lose function. And what I noticed in myself and other people is if you take the stress off, your body isn't stressed anymore and you're not taxing that thyroid gland, the thyroid gland recovers and you get normal function. But if you go over into Hashimoto's, i.e., you probably had an infection or at some point you had invasion of microbes in that area, so you have reactivation and the body starts attacking the thyroid cells. If it kills enough thyroid cells, you're going to have to take thyroid hormone the rest of your life because you just don't have that cellular capacity anymore. Same thing happens with type 1 diabetes that a virus invades the beta cells in the pancreas that produce insulin and reactivates and the immune system attacks that and kills those cells. And if it kills all of them, you become a type 1 diabetic. Well, a lot of research is showing now that what we thought was type 2 diabetes, in a lot of cases, people have a milder version of that cellular loss from an infection. So that can play a role in a lot of ways. Same thing with Parkinson's disease. You have an attack probably from a microbe that's invaded an area of the brain called the substantia nigra, and it wipes out all those cells, so you lose the ability to control movement in your body. But it all is related to cells. So the more that we can preserve our cells, protect our cells, and keep our cells protected from microbes, then that's what health is all about.
I love if anybody wants to do a deep dive, on this, just reading your last book on cellular wellness was really an eye opener for me, and it's so cool because you can flip through different chapters and to different parts of the body or different conditions that you might be experiencing. And Dr. Rawls basically explains it and talks about how you can help restore those particular ailments. And so I'm just a little plug for you.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
So we're here on Lyme Time. We're discussing phase 3 of Restore 180. This is a 6-month protocol that is available to anybody that is suffering from chronic conditions. And we're talking specifically in this case about Lyme disease and tick-borne illness. So now that we're in phase 3 of rebuilding our body, we're getting a little bit, I'm feeling like, a little healthier, a little bit more, a little less taxed, as you would say. What kinds of daily practices in this phase can help lay the groundwork for even once this phase is over?
Yeah. It's a good phase to fine tune, By then, people have gotten a lot of education. I've built an enormous amount of spoon feeding, easy to consume education into the whole program. And so by that time, it's fine tuning. So when we talk about that cellular equation of cellular health, restoring cellular health, there's really 5 things that you have to look at. The first is, we've already talked about the microbes. We do need to control the microbes, and in my understanding after really looking at years of research is that it's never just Borrelia, it's never just Bartonella, Babesia. We all have a microbiome that lives in our tissues and our blood. Some physicians are still debating this or denying that it's actually there, but it's getting hard to deny it with all the research that's out there now. Um, that we actually do have microbes that live in our brain, in our bloodstream, in our tissues that are always there and can reactivate. Some of them may actually be beneficial for us. There's still a lot we don't know, but it's an interesting area of study. but the herbs help us keep control of that. So I still take herbs. I've been taking herbs for 20 years. When you look at these microbes and the connection between other illnesses, and especially cancers, herbs are one of the best things we can do because these adaptogenic and antimicrobial herbs, so many of them can be taken long term, and every single one of them has not only antimicrobial properties to these low grade pathogens that are in our system, they also have anti-cancer properties. And those two are probably well connected because I think they're probably over time we'll probably discover a microbe connection to all cancers. So you're looking at just that microbe factor being a factor in chronic illness in general, but also in cancer and a lot of other things. So we want to prevent that as much as we can. So that's up front. We've talked about that a lot, but there are four other categories of things that we can do to optimize ourselves. Our nourishment, our environment, just our mental health and our physical health, our physical practices. So diet is about refinement, moving toward a healthy diet that you can enjoy for the rest of your life. A whole food diet that's rich in vegetables and other things that really are, it's a diet that is for cellular health. So, but it's learning how to enjoy foods that are also properly nourishing your body. Our our taste tend us to gravitate toward foods that aren't necessarily healthy for us to eat. So it's learning how to make vegetables taste good. And that's something I try to do every day. I try to eat more vegetables than anything else. But vegetables don't taste good. You have to add in, fat and sugar and or carbohydrate just to give them flavor. So finding innovative ways to make vegetables taste good. I've always said that a weak chef's crutch is fat and sugar, I mean, you can make anything taste good with enough fat and sugar. But so you have to have some of that in your vegetables. Learning how to do that is important. Environment, just really working on living a life that is more in keeping with how we should live naturally, going to natural places, being surrounded by natural things as much as we can, both indoors and outdoors, but using technology like air filters and just being smart about keeping our air clean, keeping our water clean, keeping our food clean. That's important. Um, how we go about life, I mean, I sleep is so much more of a priority to me now than it was 30 years ago. I didn't have to care about sleep. Now sleep is really valuable and it has been for a long time. So cultivating good sleep habits and sticking with them. And part of that is just being active during the day. You know, my work forces me to sit on a computer a lot, but I try to break that up. I walk a minimum of 3 miles a day. I'll probably take an hour, and we've got a creek nearby, and I'm going to throw my paddleboard in there and go paddleboarding for an hour or more. It gets me out in clean air and nature, but it also gets me physically active. So doing things that make your body feel good, make you feel good. You'll feel better about life. You'll be able to do more in life when you move toward this direction.
Oh yeah, movement is essential, and I also want to talk to anybody out there who is still, you know, just having a long-term difficult recovery. You can be in bed and you can do simple stretches, and like
Yeah.
Dr. Wall said, get the blood moving. That is so important to your detoxification. So whatever it looks like for each individual is different, especially in this phase of restoring your body once it's been through a traumatic, systemic, overloaded, terrible trauma can take a while. But,
Yes.
I'm going to ask this question because I think everybody out there is going to want me to ask it. But what are the daily herbs that you still take every single day just for maintenance?
Yeah, I still do daily multi plus. I still do mitochondrial support. I tend to do like one or two capsules of gut balance a day because I think that just protecting that mucus barrier is really important. And I do our adaptogen recovery every day, just getting reishi and cordyceps. I mean, you look at the science on reishi, and it has some of the most potent anti-cancer substances on the planet. It's kind of like, yeah, I want to do that. I take a couple of our joint care every day that has turmeric and boswellia. I didn't put the joint care in the primary package because a lot of people have leaky gut that takes a while to get beyond, and they're very sensitive to oxalates, and the turmeric tends to be higher in oxalates. So we save that as an add-on for people who need it and people who can tolerate it. But I take the joint care um, every day. I don't necessarily take the full doses each day though. Sometimes it's a single dose. If there is any issue, if I'm feeling a little slow at all, I add in an antimicrobial. There's a lot of stuff flying around out there, and I try to keep my system protected. Right now, I'm taking Alcornia as an extra herb, and I'm constantly trying new herbs. I think it's good to rotate some herbs, so I don't take just our formulas. But I share them around. I plug a joint care into my dog a couple of times a day. And he's 10 years old and doesn't show any signs of arthritis. And we did that with our last dog who started having arthritis at age 7 and he lived to be age 14.
Oh, wow.
So these things really are highly protective for a lot of things.
Well, for a lot of people that are listening only or not watching this on video on YouTube, I'm pretty sure you've never had reconstructive facial surgery or any kind of facelift or Botox or anything. Dr. Rawls looks amazing. And, I think it speaks well to herbs. You've been doing herbs for, and I mean daily. And I know Dr. Rawls, he's been doing it forever. And I just think might be doing some reversing of aging for you as well.
I'm aging. My skin's aging, but I don't seem to have things in people, and boy, 10 years of my life. I mean, this is a bit of anniversary for me because I considered my turning point in 2005, which is 20 years ago now. And at that point, I didn't know I was going to be able to see 2025. I didn't think I'd make it this far. I really, really didn't. And here I am, and I feel very vital. And at age 67, I guess I'm creeping up on 70. I'm still hiking and biking and walking and paddleboarding and kayaking and kite surfing. And I just don't have the joint pains and all of the things. I certainly don't have brain issues, heart issues that so many people my age do have. And, taking herbs and having good health habits isn't an absolute guarantee. Sometimes things do slip up and get the best of us, but it sure does hedge your bets a lot. And it's I think it matters in so many ways. So, with this Restore 180 program, it's about recovery, but it's about building a foundation for the rest of your life that I don't think you can get in a doctor's office or really anywhere else. And I think that's just really important. People that come through that program do the content, do the exercises, work with a community, they're going to come out different people on the other side. They're going to have so many more skills. So it's not just about the products, it's about building skills that you will keep for the rest of your life. And I think that's really valuable.
I do too. I mean, it's really once you're done with the 180-day program, he's provided you with a lot of things that you have on hand in your kitchen that you can continue doing every day of your life for maintenance. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. I mean, it's not just about treating yourself when you feel bad, it's about changing your lifestyle and making these products part of your daily routine. And we're all walking through it together, and it's about community, it's about network. Do not forget in this phase all the important support opportunities that Dr. Rawls has put so much time and effort in. Sometimes when we start feeling better and we find our footing and we're able to do a little bit more, we forget about resources like coaching that he's put into this program, peer-to-peer motivation and support, because what you're trying to do as well as maintaining your health is actually retraining your brain. And hearing little tidbits from Dr. Rawls really makes a difference because you'll remember these things for the rest of your life. Dr. Rawls, why was it so important for you to include this part of the protocol?
Well, I think it just rounds it out. It gets people to where we started years ago with just this basic complement of supplements, but realizing that people needed a lot more. They needed to prepare their body. They needed to go through a process to get to the point where they could get optimal use out of these things. So it comes full circle and it achieves something that I've wanted to achieve for years and years, but just didn't have the resources to do. And now being able to do the community, having a team to support it, having all the pieces in place, that's what makes all of this possible. It just, I don't think it would have been possible 5 years ago, even we just didn't have all the pieces in place. And it is something, it's a place that I've been moving toward for a long time. And again, when somebody reaches that 180-day point, or even if they take 190 days or 250 days to get through the whole thing, it doesn't matter. It's going through that process. But even if I don't expect everyone to be like 100% well at the end of 6 months, because like we said, cellular recovery, neurological symptoms, heart symptoms, just getting that full recovery can take years. So even though I had a turning point, it took me 5 years from the turning point to feel like to just be able to say, okay, I'm 100% now. I cannot get any better than I am at this point. That took 5 years. But I had really bad heart symptoms, really bad neurological symptoms. My joints were shot. Um, so it takes time for the body to rebuild itself. So you do have to keep working at it. But at that point of finishing this program, you have all the tools and everything there. You've been through that process to set your body up for success. So you can continue that journey no matter how long it takes. So the good news is I've maintained that for over a decade now at a very, very high level using those same skills. So once you have that, once you have it in your brain, once you understand and once you feel that lifestyle, I mean, I wouldn't trade what I'm doing for anything right now. It's just I love the way I eat. I love the way I go about life. There and I just wouldn't change it for anything. So that's the gift I want to give people. That's the point where I want people to be.
Yeah, I mean, optimum wellness. I think that's what it's all about. That's what everybody is searching for that's listening to this program. And really waking up feeling good and eating the way we're supposed to and sleeping the way we're supposed to. And it just brings so much more of a quality to your life. So everybody, I
Yeah.
think we know by now, but if in case you don't know, you can go to vitalplan.com and learn more about the Restore 180 kit. If everybody out there is starting phase 3, you know what to do. And this is going to be an incredible phase for you. But you also know where to get additional products once you're done with this. If you need some of the joint care or anything that are sort of add-ons, Vital Plan has just about everything. And I can speak from my own experience. I have tried several of the products on top of the Restore kit and on top of the Restore 180 as a supplemental protocol. And I really believe in the company. I really do. I think they've gone through, Dr. Rawls really handpicks everything in terms of the way he certifies his products and in the way that he um, goes through different I guess you could call regulations and all of that. And it's pretty impressive. And I've done a lot of research with herbal protocols, so I really can't recommend it enough. And Dr. Rawls, thank you again. I look forward to seeing you every year at the Lyme time. I mean, not sorry, at the Losing Lyme gathering, where we have a gathering of doctors and practitioners and just there for everybody's support. And I always love having you there. And I always learn something new from you every single time I talk to you. So thank you so much. And
Well, I'm constantly learning, and whatever I learn, I have to share it with everyone else. I mean,
well,
that's
that's great because that just means that you'll be back another time. So
yes.
thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And everybody out there, don't forget to listen to the daily support, the videos. Make sure and check in with your health coach to have that one last uh, coaching session during this phase. And Dr. Ross, we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Allie.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Lyme Time Podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe on your favorite platform to be notified of new episodes. Remember, this is not intended to be medical advice. Take your findings to your provider to see if something is right for you. No two bodies heal the same, and your doctor knows you and your labs best. You can find out more about the Tick Chicks at thetickchicks.com, and if you subscribe there, you'll be notified of upcoming events like the in-person Losing Lyme retreat that I host. I also have shopping pages dedicated to helping your at-home symptom relief, as well as a private support group. Join the Tick Chicks tribe on Instagram, YouTube, Meta, TikTok, Pinterest, and X. You are not alone.